Alrighty, Aftershocks, Tremors, we're back. Matt and Chris with you once again. What's going on, Chris? How you
What,
doing this fabulous Thanksgiving Day week?
dude? It's all about it's fat guy Christmas. Let's just be honest. It is the fat guy Christmas. It's my favorite holiday of the year for obvious reasons.
Oh, okay.
I love it. Was just out this morning seeing my friend Billy Morris and Todd Chason of Tough because they have a cooking business called Smoke and Rock and Roll where they do smoked turkeys and smoked stuffing and smoked mac and cheese, and I bought all of it.
Ah,
I
nice.
bought it all. It's look, I joke all the time about being a fat guy anyway because I am, but it took 3 guys loading my trunk today.
Wow. Shit, dude. What kind of feast are you having, man? Holy
Well, like I
shit.
said, we're having a 20-some pound bird, and we're having a big old super tub of they make this smoked what do you call it, stuffing with Italian sausage
Oh,
ground into this
nice.
thing.
Wow, very
Oh,
nice.
it's so goddamn good. And then smoked mac and cheese. I have a big old tray of that, and gravy and potatoes, and it's the
Nice.
whole thing, man. It's expensive, but it's certainly worthy of it's the I cannot sell, and I know this is just a shameless plug for Billy and his place, but I can't sell enough how good their food is anyway.
Mhm.
And this is my 4th year doing the Thanksgiving. And this is from a guy that Thanksgiving has always been of the highest importance to me because like I said, it really is my favorite holiday. It's the
Mhm.
only holiday I actually celebrate.
Oh,
So
okay.
for me to literally go from every year cooking and do it, it's the only day of the year I ever used to cook.
Mm.
And I went from that to buying it from somebody else. That should pretty much tell you how amazingly good the food
How
is.
good it must be. Yeah, wow, man. Nice.
Yep.
Nice.
Can't
Very cool,
wait.
man.
Can't
Sounds
wait.
like you got your plans all set there,
Oh,
which is
dude.
cool.
It's called Eating and Coma tomorrow.
Eating football and coma. I agree,
Yep.
man. Yeah,
I'll probably
exactly.
be asleep during the football game. I ain't gonna
Yeah.
lie, dude. When you eat that meal, and you try to watch bad football too, and that's the other
It's
thing
always
too.
bad, true.
It's bad, and especially this year. Jesus, the
Yeah.
Patriots and the Lions. Oh,
Well, the Lions do it pretty decently on Thanksgiving. Tend to do at least, they pull out one of their best games of the year a lot of times on Thanksgiving.
yeah.
Between them and Dallas. But yeah, no, you're right. You normally though it is pretty bad football, but it's football.
Yeah.
It's just sit there, like you said, eat a bunch, let that tryptophan hit you hard, and
Yep.
just knock you out for a little while. The food coma, we
Hell
all
yeah.
do it, and yeah, it's yeah, Thanksgiving's a great day, man. I'm looking forward to it too. Just kicking it here, not doing too much crazy, but we'll be doing the same thing you'll be doing, just same
Yeah.
like everyone else is doing, obviously.
Hell yeah. It's fun.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, man. So yeah, so anything how's the show's been going? How's Chris Aiken Presents, To Me, all that? How's everything going so far?
Everything is going really well, man. Obviously CMS is a freight train. It just keeps on rolling.
Mhm.
And Toomey's been going real well. And the new and improved Chris Aiken Presents, I
Yeah.
guess. We added Eric Ferentinos from Stephen Piercy's band as my
Awesome.
co-host on that. And we're doing that live every Monday now. And on YouTube, Facebook, and I think Rumble is the third one that we're doing it on.
Okay.
And it's really fun. Eric has a bunch of new stories that nobody's heard yet. And obviously touring with Stephen Piercy, that's an adventure all by itself. So
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
it's just fun. And it's kind of, the weird thing is it's different. Believe it
Mhm.
or not, me who does 400 shows, you'd think I'd be running out of shit and it would be, it would start to stumble over it. But like
Mhm.
this show is different from that show.
Mhm.
And both of those, this show and Chris Aiken Presents are different than To Me. And
Mhm.
all of them are different than CMS. It's really, I just never can shut up, I guess. I just have so much shit going on in my head that I need to get out. So
Mhm.
it's fun though. It's
Yeah.
really a lot of fun. I'm so excited with, just getting more and more businessy with the podcasts.
Mhm.
I think since the last time we talked or last time we did one of these, I
Mhm.
opened a podcasting studio an actual physical brick and mortar studio, and we have a show, the Seth Williams Show, that broadcasts out of there every week. And I'm going to be doing this I haven't even said this one anywhere yet. So here's the exclusive for Aftershocks. Not that it's for the Aftershocks crowd. They'll all be like, oh, faggot. But, but we're on December the 10th. We're going to do our first live concert broadcast with Tough, the band. The 80s band
Tough. Sure.
We're gonna do a storytellers with Tough on the CMS podcast network.
Very cool.
So, got a lot going on, which is great. And, it's always great when I'm busy during the holidays, because usually there's nothing going on, but lots and lots of good shit coming up, man. So,
yeah. And that, the dynamic between you and Eric is really cool on Chris Aiken Presents. I think you guys really have a good, make a good tandem there in the topics you talk about. Like you said, he can share so many great stories. A guy being on the road with Stephen Piercy, and I'm sure he's got a lot. I mean, all people got to do is check out the one that you guys put out. I believe it was the other day about Tom Mariah. Check out that story. That's right there. Yeah, that is nuts. I think it caught a lot of people's attention. I think that one, man.
Oh yeah. I'm waiting for the cease and desist on that one. I was like,
right?
I was like, Jesus, episode 1, and we're gonna get shut down.
Oh, awesome, man. Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I was, just last week I was in Vegas. Just did a little family thing with my wife, my daughter, and a couple of my in-laws and so forth. And I was able to check out a couple of shows though while I was there, which was really cool. Actually, I got to see 2 shows. I went, when I first got there, I went to see this show. It was a bunch of unknown band names. It was a smaller show, obviously. It was basically put on by this guy who I'm actually going to be interviewing this weekend. He's a promoter out of Vegas.
Okay.
His name is John Gist. He does his business is called Vegas Rock Revolution. Now, he started this back in about 2017, I think. I remember when he came out. I remember seeing it somewhere on social media. There was a video, or there was an article or something in one of the papers there about it. And it was just a guy like us. He was just a regular guy who just loved rock, hard rock and metal, and just saw that there was a lack of, I guess a lack of a scene, or lack of shows coming up with any new bands or up and coming bands. So just like anyone would, just like us doing a show, wherever, he just wanted to get back and kind of, create sort of this thing in Vegas, which is just interesting about Vegas, because you usually don't think of, I don't usually tend to think of like music, rock or metal when you think of Vegas. Although now, sure, you bands like Five Finger Death Punch and that one with the guy who's fighting with Sebastian Bach, Falling in Reverse, those kind of bands. A lot of the bands in the 2000s, I think Vegas started to, come out with. But in terms of like, classical bands, whether it's classic rock or in the 90s or something, usually Vegas you don't think of, but Vegas is changing. It's becoming like a Hollywood pretty much.
Haven't most of the Hollywood people have moved either to Vegas or to Nashville, one of the two.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, your boy Eddie Trunk, he moved there.
Oh, well, in that case, it's the place to be.
That's it. It's got to be, right? Yeah. But anyway, so this guy, I've been seeing, he does a lot of the stoner and doom stuff. That's a lot what he focuses on. He's also got a podcast called The Doomed and Stone Show, which has been around for years, probably about close to 10 years, I think now. A good show for showcasing and putting on new bands and music. That's what they focus on. And so I like it a lot. So yeah, he put on the show. There's a band called Spirit Mother. They're out of Long Beach, California.
Okay.
Real. I mean, to be honest with you, before I went there, I listened to the stuff. I was like, okay, it's okay. But when I got there and saw it live, it was so much better. It's just one of those things where obviously a lot of these bands, when you hear, especially that kind of music, a lot of that doom stuff, it's so much better live than it is, what they can get on record.
Is it me being crazy, or is the reality that I would say, I don't want to say all of it, because obviously there's a lot of it that's not, but I would say a good 60 to 65% of that style of music just does not translate in a studio.
I'm with you. It's kind of like this band that I just put out last week on Aftershocks, the Odolith.
Yeah.
Which is getting a lot of praise, but that's another band. If you watched them, I watched a live video they did at some show. sounded, I mean, phenomenal. And not that the record doesn't sound it, but it's so hard to replicate or get
Mhm.
that sound absolutely on a recording to sound remotely close to what it sounds like live. They really are. You got to hear that stuff live, and you really
Sure.
ought to appreciate it. Is my opinion. You're
Yeah,
you're 100% right. Yeah.
and the
Mhm.
crazy thing is that's not new. You would have
Mhm.
thought, you would have thought that over time they would have figured it out. Like they figured out how to record like thrash,
Uh-huh.
which I think in the 80s, if you would have said, I mean, we all bought like Souls of Black by Testament. We all had
Mhm.
that record. Great songs that sounded like absolute ass. It's just a
Mhm.
terrible sounding record. And, but that was okay. And, the early Overkill records and stuff like that, early
Mhm.
Anthrax records, none of them sounded great.
Early Slayer. Yeah, all
Early
of them. Yeah.
Slayer, yeah,
Yeah.
not even Kill 'Em All doesn't sound
True.
phenomenal.
Mhm.
I mean, but they figured it out to where when you listen to like a Havoc record or Warbringer or something now, it damn near sounds exactly like they do live.
Yeah.
And for some reason, stoner metal, which I'm assuming it's just because of the groove and the vibe that it doesn't sound as good. But dude, I can remember going to shows in the 90s,
Mhm.
going to see like Red Giant or Abdullah or those bands from
Mhm.
from
From
that
your area.
era
Yeah.
of same style of music, and I would see them live and they would just murder. I mean, they were just unbelievably good. And
Mhm.
they would hand me a CD at the end of the night or a tape. Back then, I think it was probably tapes.
Mhm.
And I'd get home, and the next day, I'd put the tape in the player in the car, and I'd be like, "What is this? It sounds like it was recorded in somebody's basement."
Mhm.
It
Yeah.
just sounded bad.
You know what it is? I think a lot of it has to do with the low end. There's a lot of low end with that music with doom and stoner. And for some reason, it's like for instance, this band Spirit Mother that I saw, they have similar to like that band Yoda, they have a female who plays violin, electric violin
Okay.
on top of it. And so I think when you're trying to in the studio mix in all those different sounds together, and you've got a low end and you've got a singer, the way the singer sounded, he almost sounded like George Harrison.
Okay.
For the Beatles, he just had like that kind of, or like a Bob Dylan-y George Harrison type of, voice. And so it's just hard, I think. Yeah, I don't know if it's, I don't know what it is, but I'm thinking it has to do a lot of it just being a low end because it's that stoner doom stuff, which is
Sure.
got that heavy bottom. And when you had that, at least with like thrash, it's more, it's all guitar driven. So you just crank up the treble or whatever it is, and you just get it a little bit more revved up. Just put the
Yeah.
guitars in front of everything. Since the stoner and doom stuff isn't really 100% guitar driven, it's sort of a blend of everything.
Mhm.
I think you're right. I mean, I think that's why it's really difficult to sort of replicate that
Yeah.
sound on a recording and to try to get as close as you can to a live setting, which
Right.
it just doesn't have it. But yeah, I mean, so the show was, I mean, it was a cool show. There was the opening band. I forget the name of all the bands, but Acid Sisters was one of them. There were a couple of bands that were locally from Vegas, and
Okay.
they were pretty good. The first band was really good. They were more of like an early 90s, like heavy alternative, like AC/DC kind of sound, and a punk kind of, like that, almost like old Seattle kind of sound. So
Nice.
it was a good show, man. The guy, like I said, Johnny put it on. He does a great job. I mean, he's really, one of the things about the show I liked, for one, it was in a very, interesting place.
Okay.
It was in this a barbecue place, but that had a stage. It was almost probably like a stage that would probably be set up for like a bluegrass band or a,
Okay.
not
Nice.
for like, I mean, well, just a setup, So
Right.
like, for instance, when you walk in there, yeah, there's tables right there in front of the stage. Like it was funny with the head band there, Spirit Mother, the guy, he was sitting there saying, "Oh, sorry to bother everyone's dinner plans here." I mean, he was, fucking around because there's like tables right there and it wasn't
Nice.
even moved.
All right.
So once again, this is just, I mean, I was talking to John, he was telling me, yeah, there was a couple of venues, obviously over the pandemic that closed down in Vegas. So they were kind of, hamstrung. I mean,
Sure.
there's one bigger place where he could put on some of the bigger shows, but for the smaller shows, it's a place like that that's got to happen. And like I said, it was cool. It was a good little spot. But I mean, when I was talking to him, obviously, now the cool thing about it was only $10. Okay, now
That's nice. Wow.
it's really nice. I mean, when I saw that, I said, "Wow, that's fantastic." Like, I mean, that's great. I mean, to see some unknown bands, that's what you're gonna have to do. Now, John, now I'll tell you this about John. He's a guy who's very well respected in the scene. Like you don't see
Okay.
promoters that get this much credit for doing what they're doing, because you could tell he's not doing it for the money.
Sure.
I mean, this is strictly out of passion, and so you can see like a show that show. He obviously probably didn't make any money. In fact, he probably lost some money on that. And you can see the bands really like and respect him, which means he pays them well. He pays them, and he
Sure.
follows through on his promises. And so he's like I said, a very well respected guy. And he also does put together compilation, these sort of like split records for Ripple Music as well, for
Okay.
the Ripple Records. So he's got a hands on a lot of different things. He's
Sure.
really just a guy full of passion. But one of the things that I was looking at, and the other show I saw when I was there, just before I move on, is I also saw John Fogerty.
Okay.
Obviously the old CCR John Fogerty.
Mm.
I was been a big fan of him for years as a kid. And like I said, a good show, but the guy's 77 years old. And it was interesting because what I did was I got to see, obviously, now a Hall of Fame, musician like him. And then I got to see some of these up and coming bands, smaller bands.
Sure.
And just, you look at just the difference between the two, not so much musically, but, here it is, John Fogerty. I mean, I don't want to get too much in this, but, the price to go to these shows, man, it's absolutely insane. Not so much even for the ticket, but I even bought a John Fogerty t-shirt without realizing how much it was. And I got up there, it was $54.
Oh,
$54 for a t-shirt.
For John Fogerty.
For John Fogerty, too. I should have just said no, but I was like, all right, well, if I was in the spirit, let's just do it. Same thing, buying a drink at the venue, $29, dude. I mean,
for a drink.
For a drink.
One.
Like, for one alcoholic beverage. It was like a mango vodka type of thing. It's it was insane, dude.
It better have come in a handle.
Well, it was big. It was a big drink. When I handled
$29.
$29 effing dollars, dude.
So fuck that.
Well, you're in Vegas. See, the thing, I don't want to get to too much about Vegas, but Vegas used to be cheap for stuff like that. Now it's like going to Beverly Hills or something, man. There is nothing cheap about Vegas at all, which is why, just going back to John's show, okay, $10, for Vegas. I mean, that's a hell of a deal.
Yeah.
Hell of a deal. Now, there's a couple of things about it. Like I said, the one thing I was noticing was just, once again, I'm noticing the people in there. I'm obviously just observing, because obviously I see shows around here. I've seen them out in California now for a long time. And I always tend to think, I've had discussions with this with some bands too, and so forth. Like I remember the guys from Orange Goblin. I talked to them a few years ago when I went to see them. And, my wife was asking them, oh, what crowds do you see are better? And then I saw them in Vegas too. And I was saying, oh, it's the European crowds for sure. And he was saying, well, no, not necessarily. He'd say, not really. Everyone thinks that, but it's not really. That's not necessarily the truth. So what it got me thinking was really, and then I got a buddy who was from England, from Birmingham, and he's told me the same thing. Sure, of course, the bigger bands, they'll do okay, but if you bring just a decent sized band there on a Sunday night or a Tuesday or one of those just days with it's on a Friday or Saturday, they don't do that well either in places like that. So I think this is what I'm seeing. It just gave me a good idea of what goes on outside of just my area. And it's the same exact thing though. I mean, I felt like I was the same thing. I was back here. It was a lot of people our age, or maybe a little younger. You had this other crowd that came from one of the bands that was really a little bit younger. They came in looking all gothed out, or it looks like there's a return to sort of that Christian death rock stuff. Christian Death, that band Christian Death, like that death rock, from back in the day. I've noticed in like a dark wave that there is, like, I think, a resurgence and that happening too right now. But it was an interesting crowd. But once again, it's the same everywhere. I think it was Mike Varney, Mike Varney, the guy who's Shrapnel Records. Yeah, he was there. So it's once again just the guys like us who just can't get enough of this stuff, and they have the bug and always are going out to watch shows. And then there's some of the band's friends, and and that's really it, man. And so it just got me to start thinking too, in terms of just, with rock and metal. I mean, it's almost like I really think it's becoming sort of like, it's really becoming like, in a way, like an outdated thing, where like with classical music became back in the day, where it's like, you don't see anyone picking up the trombone and the clarinet and all this stuff anymore, except for you're at school, if they have like a music appreciation thing. And even these days with young kids, you're not seeing anyone, nothing is bass, drums, and guitar centric anymore. Yeah. It's like, it sounds like to me, like it just seems to me, no matter how hard you try to promote things like this guy John's doing, and then you get enough people to maybe fill up 30 to people on a show. This isn't changing. I don't see it changing anytime soon. I really think we the other thing too, when I was staying in the Paris hotel, and when I got home from the show, I was all drunk, and I just said, let me just fuck around the casino for a while. Let me walk around and get a beer and just
Right.
and what do they got there? Now there's no more live bands playing at these places anymore. There's no more these cover bands playing songs that people know. No, they've got DJs up in the front of the Baccarat area set up playing just playing songs. I mean, it's like
Okay.
it's such a different world musically. It's now. I think a lot of us just were hoping that it wouldn't go this way and that eventually things are going to come around. Man, I don't see it. This is just to me, just between the show, between what I saw just in Vegas in general. I've seen it in LA. I've seen it up here. Now we're talking a lot of major cities that have a lot of entertainment in them now, and I'm seeing the same thing everywhere. And once again, I don't mean to be pumping some more doom and gloom for metal and rock, but
No,
it's in trouble, man. It's really in trouble.
dude, it's in trouble, and it's in trouble for a lot of reasons. Some of which you're hammering on, some that you're not. The unfortunate truth is, as attention spans are getting shorter, and we're being led to that with TikTok and whatever,
Yeah.
especially like TikTok.
Yep.
I'll point to two things that are probably inherently bad for music and for rock and for metal. One of them is TikTok. Now people are not.
Yeah.
People are to make a 3, 4, 5, 6 hour commitment is absolutely unheard of now.
Mhm.
I mean, you can't get
Yeah.
people to make a 3-minute commitment to paying attention to a band. So bands are now putting out a riff. They put out a riff on TikTok for 30 seconds and then they're off.
I know.
And they're getting millions of hits. So to them, they think that they're succeeding. That's a problem. That is one of the biggest problems. The other one that I'll point to is, and I like this guy. I'm not hammering on him. I obviously interviewed him. Guys like Nick Nocturnal that will focus on, and he's a metal fan. So I'm not hammering him per se, but I'm hammering a show like his, which will show you, well, here's a cool riff from a song, or here's me playing a riff from a song. He makes music but doesn't tour, so he's almost, as a guy with 1 million followers or whatever it is, he's showing other bands that you can do this without doing the hard work. Without slugging.
You don't even need a band, like you said. It's putting up I got a cool riff. I could put together a goofy little ditty here, put on TikTok, and make money.
Or you can do, I mean, what does Nocturnal do? He puts out a riff that he does, but then he'll be like, hey, I'm going to play the new lead from Falling in Reverse, and he'll play it and he'll get, 150,000 people watch it.
Playthroughs and stuff. Yeah.
What the fuck does he need to go out and tour for? Why does he need to go and play in front of 35 people?
That's true.
It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense unless you're doing it just because you love the art of playing music and you're just an old school music fan like that, where you're all about the songs and the album.
But when you look at the age of these people, the people in these bands, they're younger, 20-year-old people.
Yeah.
They weren't raised to appreciate the art.
Yeah, it's true.
We always go back to appreciate it for an art, and it's an art form, and support the artist and everything. Why do we do that? Because that's what we were taught.
Exactly. Yeah, it's true. What we grew up on, and we were taught. Exactly. Absolutely. Yeah.
We even now, I'm 54. What are you, 45?
It'll be 47 next month.
47. So what did we always think when we heard a song by any band that we used to like? From the time we were 13 to the time we are today, you heard a song and you're like, let's find out when they're going to tour.
Exactly. Yep.
It translated.
Or go buy the record, go find the record, and then when they come into town and play. Exactly. Yeah. That's how it went. Exactly.
The thought was always to see them.
You're right. Yes.
And when we all get together in bars and we get to talking, what do we talk about? Our great memories of, man, do you remember that Iron Maiden show back in 88 when Eddie fell off the stage, or whatever the fuck we're talking about? But our whole musical existence was around the live portion of the art form. These kids now, when you look at how music is distributed today, it's distributed on these fucking phones. There's no physical product. There's no, you've got people wearing alligator masks, singing songs like the Masked Singer.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's what is,
Music.
and then they take their hood, the mask off, and oh look, it's Bret Michaels, or oh look, it's Chris Jericho, or Nicki Minaj, or whoever it is. It's all geared not to seeing it live. It's geared to seeing it in a YouTube clip. It's geared to seeing it in a TikTok clip. It's just not geared to, you know what? I watched The Masked Singer, and now I'm going to go catch a Fozzy show because I saw Chris Jericho. It's just not that way no more.
It's not. Well, and also the live experience, like you said, people aren't getting excited to go, like you said, to see them live. Well, it's like, why would I just see them live? I get to see them on YouTube, and it's only one person, right? You don't have bands. Like you said, we've talked about this a lot about how these great these kids can go on YouTube and they can be these virtuosos. Put them in a room with two other musicians, put together a song. They have no idea what the hell to do.
Yeah.
They have no idea how to work with each other. And they're not looking, like, one of the things we used to like going out to shows for too is obviously to see the band, but it was also a social setting. I mean, let's be honest, you were around people who like the same thing as you. It's like, wow, okay, these people like metal and all these different, genres of music and bands that I can get, like, none of my other friends I grew up with, like, or anyone on my block or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And so it was like, it was a meeting place where you can meet like-minded other, people.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, that's not what it's about at all. They don't want to go out and meet anyone. They want to text and meet each other online.
Yeah, or play Call of Duty in a group chat or whatever. They don't want to actually go somewhere. That's inconvenient. That'll cost me $30 in an Uber.
Exactly. No, you're right. It's well, that is a thing too. Is this expensive? Like I said, now this guy, $10. I mean, like I said, phenomenal price for a show of 3, lesser bands. But of course, I had a bunch of drinks. That's where they get you. So of course I wound up still spending a decent amount of money just from drinking. Yeah. But I mean, but you're right though. But that's the thing. It's not like just, okay, I paid my $10 and I got my $20 for drinks and then I'm good. I was able to get to the show easily. Like you said, take Uber it back and forth. Drinks are expensive. If I want to buy a shirt or a CD, it's easily way over $100 once again.
Yeah.
And younger kids, I can afford that. But even if I did that a few times, it's like, all right, I don't want to keep dropping 100 every time I go see a band, or if I go more. But for these younger kids that don't have that kind of money, it makes no sense for them to go to the shows. So it's like,
we went to a lot of shows because they were $10. That's why we went. We went to a million shows because, and I mean, big bands, I saw Kiss for $10.
Yeah.
I mean, you went to big shows because it was $10, $15. It was, even if you were, me as a kid, I was cutting grass at the church for $3.25, an hour or whatever it was. I could still afford a $15 Kiss concert ticket and a $10 shirt from the scalper outside. I could afford that. I couldn't afford today's prices, with all this, shifting schedule on the price and, tickets getting into the thousands of dollars. Oh, I would have never seen any of my musical heroes then. And then and we didn't talk about this, but if you really want to dig into another reason that it's so hard to get people out, I'm going to build off of what you were just talking about the younger kids. If you look at the dynamics of people that go out to shows, it's not younger kids, it's older people. So
yes, exactly.
So these younger kids, like you saw these new bands, they're not going to draw people their age. They're not going to draw people in their 20s. They have to draw really into a very finite. They're not going to draw 20. If they're 25 years old, they're not going to draw 25 years old and back.
They're
just not going to draw that.
They're not.
And unfortunately, they're not going to draw 40 and up either, because, and I'm sure you have 100 friends like this and you're the oddball. Most all of our friends have quit with whatever was their era.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. They're all still listening to their fucking Deep Purple records, or still listening to their Korn records, or whatever, or
just Metallica, just whatever it was. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Not trying to find anything new.
No.
So you really limit the audience to maybe a 10-year age group.
It's a niche audience.
Yeah.
I mean, it's niche. It's very niche.
And it's the hardest niche to get because I mean, think about 30-year-old people. They may have a little bit more money, but they also have all the responsibility. That's when they have kids. That's when they're in between making it from middle management to advanced management, in their lives. Their lives are so full. The last thing in the world they can do is waste time or, family time or all, whatever it would be going to a show. It's very, very, the odds are very stacked against these bands these days.
No, it is. And that's a great point because, and I was going to get to that into that exactly because a great example was the band I saw, the headband, they're called Spirit Mother. Yeah, they're guys in their 20s. From what I'm looking at and meeting one, the singer and stuff. He's definitely a young kid. And I remember when they got on, I was telling you, he was joking about like, oh, sorry to disrupt everybody's dinner party. Well, what it was it wasn't like everybody was sitting down. There was some people, but obviously, you're the headliner. Your job, right, is to come on, let's go, people. Let's get moving.
Yeah.
Let's get up. Let's rock and roll here. Now the thing was, and you just hit it right on the nose. So he was kind of I wouldn't say he was being like a snot nose kind of kid. No, he was just doing what you're supposed to do, and kind of like get people, come on, come to the front. Let's go. Let's do this. But like you said, most of these people that are there, yes, they were older guys, like myself, like you said, a Mike Varney, he's a guy in his 50s. And listen, I'm not coming up front and getting going. You know what I mean?
No.
I came to see you. And just to chill, and I'm not getting in the front. I'm going to, get close, but I'm not going to get right in the thick of things anymore. I'm sitting there on the side. I'm drinking my drink. I don't want to get knocked over, and I'm sitting from the back now. I'm not moshing. I'm not getting a pit anymore, or nothing like that. So it's like you're right. It's hard to really generate sort of this, that kind of a energetic feeling to a show too, because guys like me and older aren't going to get up there.
No,
and do that. We're going to sit at the table and do whatever it is. We're there just to see a new band and have fun. But like I said, at first, the way a guy was talking, I was kind of like, this guy's kind of a little bit whatever. But I was thinking to myself, wait a second, hold on. He's a kid in his 20s, for God's sakes. He should be doing this, for one. And it's also one of those things, too, when you think about it, he was just trying to inject some fun into the show.
Yeah.
And as much as they played a great show and the crowd got going, definitely a little bit more as they got going, it wasn't this really energetic kind of show. I mean, it was a Thursday night. So anytime during the week too, if you get anybody who, like you said, if they're coming, they probably got work the next day.
Yeah.
So I mean, they're not looking to get all fucked up and to go nuts. And so, like you said, there's also an energy that's missing. Like I said, I've seen that a lot here, and in this city too. And that's just the fun. The one thing about rock is just. There's a lot of things, right? You've got the cancel culture, which is it's like you can't get up there and say certain things. Everybody's so looking to just wait and pounce on you if you say the wrong thing.
Yeah.
And it's just it's become pretentiousness, I mean, think about it. If a song doesn't have a serious meaning sort of to it, it's almost like, especially with the way the press is, it's like it's got no right to exist. I mean, we've seen we saw that obviously with when people talk about hair metal. Well, hair metal was just supposed to be goofy, silly, and fun, and the way it was. It wasn't supposed to be serious, but we don't even have that anymore. Like that won't even if you tried to put something like that out. I mean, the best thing I can think of that maybe still has fun with metal is probably like power metal. You know what I mean? It might be the only genre still where you're allowed to sit there and be goofy.
Yeah, because it's all make believe anyway. It's all dragons and swords, and it's not real.
Exactly.
No, you're right, dude. I mean, it's so divided. And the other thing that, and this is partly because of cancel culture, but it's also just partly because people are stuffy pussies these days, is the people today, the youth today, and by youth, I mean under 40, not just 20-year-olds. I don't want to just bang on the 20-year-olds.
Yeah, of course.
I'll say people under 40, they're wired to fucking look for the problem. When we went, when I went to shows, I worked corporate jobs when, in my 20s and 30s, and I would go to shows, and it was not uncommon for me to hear something like, dude, you look like shit, the next morning. And I'd be like, yeah, man, was out at the Skid Row show or whatever I was at. I was out at Metallica till 4 a.m. And people would just kind of laugh it off. Okay, man, let's just keep, and move on. People, it was an accepted, okay, we're having fun. We're enjoying our life.
Mm-hmm.
Enjoying your life now is not accepted.
No, that's a good point. I know it's not. It's true.
And that makes it even more hard.
Yeah.
So now you got to make decisions on the stupid. Can you imagine, dude, think back into your 20s or 30s. Can you imagine if going out to a show like a Sepultura show or something heavy, Death Angel, whatever it would be, and making a decision of, well, I think I better not drink tonight because I gotta be at work tomorrow.
Never.
You never made that
Never.
but you have to do that now.
Yeah.
Because if you come to work smelling like booze, you're going to have somebody going to HR fucking complaining that you came in drunk and that you're not prepared for work. And
no, you're right, man. I used to always tell people, like, I remember when I was living in San Diego working my office job, I was like known because I was an idiot, letting people know if I took off, say, oh yeah, I was out hungover. I would just tell people, they knew every time I called out sick, it was because I went out the night before and I partied. Because I was open about it. It was an open book. But then you're right. But then it would eventually, but nothing really. I mean, it got back to people, but it wasn't like a big deal. It was like, well, everyone else was doing that too. It wasn't like I was just being more vocal about it. But you're right. Now it's like, oh, so and so did this. I mean, it's like you get points, social points clout. for being clout, for being a fucking little tattletale bitch.
Yeah.
You know,
and that's not even limited to rock either, dude. I mean,
no, it's everything. I know.
I mean. A lot of friends that I have, they go to like plays and stuff like that. Here in Cleveland we have a pretty good play district. We have it's called Playhouse Square, and there's it's certainly not New York. It's certainly not Broadway, but it's kind of a lot of the stuff that goes on Broadway when they take their break from Broadway and travel around a little bit. It's where it lands. So it's bigger stuff. It's definitely Phantom of the Opera and, Ain't Misbehaving and, stuff like that. But it's the same concept. The people that go to that stuff, what do? You pay a shitload of money, you dress up, you drink a little bit, you go out, you have a dinner. The next day, maybe it's not a fucking Metallica show, but the next day you still feel absolutely shitty because you had a few too many drinks. You're out till midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. You got to turn around and be at work at 7. You feel a little bit shitty. And it's the same thing. Those narcs in the office will absolutely fucking fry those people the same as they would us metalheads.
Yeah.
It's today's world doesn't want to be entertained. They don't want to be happy.
They want you to be happy, having fun. And like I said, to me, a lot of that comes from Hollywood, obviously, because we're still, it's still driven by the media in Hollywood. Sure. And if we look at historically Hollywood and metal and rock, let's be honest. I mean, Hollywood has always seen, and this is something I read this. I remember some put an article out. I think it's We Are the Media or some. I forget the name of the site, but it was a great article about how Hollywood really sees metal as something to be outgrown. It's not something you're supposed to listen to and be engaged with past a certain point of your life. It's sort of like it's supposed to be a thing when you're young and you're angry and you're kind of going through, whatever it is. It's kind of like when you see people dressed up all gothic, right? You see any 50, 60-year-old people goth out? Not really.
No.
You know what I mean? But once again, the goth is different. That is all mostly fashion. That's more of a fashionista scene. But we're just regular metal with t-shirts and jeans metal. That's strictly about the music.
Yeah.
But I mean, metal's reputation. I mean, we can even think about it when we were kids. Yeah, that wasn't, I mean, not just even kids. Look at, like we said, look at some of the people I don't know about you, but some of the people we've known and grown up with. Like I said, I've got friends like this. I've got a buddy where I don't get it. I mean, I met this guy probably about 5-6 years ago, and he's become a really good friend. But he used to be into all the same shit I listened to. He's from New York, a lot of hardcore. All this stuff. He grew up in the scene just like I did, Biohazard, Typo, all that shit. And this guy now, he listens to rap. I mean, there's nothing. He has not listened to rock or metal at all. I mean, he'll put it on once in a while just for nostalgic reasons.
Yeah.
But I know so many people like this. They've just stopped.
Yeah.
I got a good an old buddy of mine down in San Diego. This guy had a Cowboys from Hell tattoo on him. He was a shredding guitarist. I used to play with
Mhm.
him. And this guy, one day, I mean, this was a while ago, but it was one day I was living in LA. He came and visited me, and the guy's listening to like gorillas and shit. And I'm just like, dude, what the fuck? Do you not even now island reggae? He don't even listen to fucking metal or rock.
Yeah.
And so people do outgrow it. I would say they outgrow it, but some people I think do get into it as when they're in their youth as an outlet, sure, to release some frustrations,
Mhm.
anger, whatever you want to call it. And then when they get a little older, they're like, I don't want to be around that because it reminds them of their angry self. They never really got into it that
Yeah.
much for the music to begin with.
Well,
This
I'm
is
going to
my
say
theory.
I'll disagree slightly. I think they were very into it, and I think
Mm.
it became. I think it's mostly people that are weak that do that, and I'll tell you exactly why. Because people that are weak, people that are driven by their reputation more than just being themselves,
Mm.
they're the ones that switch because it's not as cool now to say, "Hey, man, I like, I don't know what's a good metal band right now. I like Cataclysm."
Mm.
It's not as cool to say that. You say that, and you're 45 years old. People are like,
Yeah,
what's wrong with you? You
exactly.
know,
Yeah.
and it comes the pressure. A lot of the pressure comes from marriage. Let's just be real.
True. Kids
You
and
know,
marriage. Yep. Mm-hmm.
these guys that were diehard metalheads now fucking lining up with their cowboy hats on for the Jason Aldean show.
I know. Oh, yeah.
Why is that? It's because that's what their wife likes.
Yeah, it's like you said, it's accepted, right? As a
Yeah.
dad in your circle with your kids' friends and and the soccer, your parents and baseball parents, whatever it is. Yeah,
Mhm.
you can't be walking around right with a Metallica shirt on or a
Yeah.
Slayer shirt anymore.
Yeah.
It's got to be a little more PC. You can't, or you've got to hide it. It's like there's certain
Mhm.
people that I mean they'll hide it. They'll like it,
Sure.
but you'll never see them wear a T-shirt or they'll do it in their car and that's it. They're afraid to like in front of other people be like, hey, let's put on some Metallica or let's put on, I mean, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But you're right. No, it is. There's social, obviously, pressures that go with that. I think you said, I think that's where you're getting at with the weak part, which I would
Yeah.
agree with you with that too. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely. And the weirdest part, the weirdest part about this whole conversation to me is that for some reason it oversteps rap completely.
Well, I was
Because
just gonna say that, dude. Yeah, that's my thing.
because
So it's okay to listen to rap and hip
yeah,
hop when you're in your
eh,
50s and 60s to all that. So it's okay to listen to old Snoop Dogg
yeah,
and and all that stuff when that shit's just talking about drugs,
dude.
rape.
How about just modern day stuff? It's okay
Well,
to
I
fucking
know.
listen to
Yeah.
"Wet Ass Pussy" by Nicki
Yeah, there you
Minaj,
go. There you go.
but
Exactly. Yeah.
God forbid I say I like
Mhm.
a Cannibal Corpse song, and
Mhm.
I'm somehow a serial killer in hiding.
Exactly.
Stop it.
Or you got freaking Lizzo up there, this overweight lady with dressing like nothing on,
Yeah,
and that's supposed to be once again, like I said, it's just okay, metal's supposed to be outgrown, but not hip hop, not
yeah,
rap. I mean, are you kidding me? Give me a fucking break.
that's
So
right.
that's just one of the things that definitely gets to me. And once again, it's because of Hollywood driving it. Now,
Mhm.
before I even get into the Hollywood, I want to keep going at this, but
Sure.
I got to show you this thing. Speaking of Hollywood, it
Okay.
has happened in L.A. Okay, so there was this thing called the L.A. Burning Fest. Now it's one of those power metal festivals. Okay,
Okay.
now I'm just gonna bring up this picture. All right. So here's this picture. All right. You see this?
Yeah.
What do you who and what do you see there?
What is that? That looks like it's a rehearsal in a house.
Okay. What you know who that is, right?
Is
You
that
see who that is?
Owens?
That is Owens. That's Ripper. You got
Who's
Sean
the
Peck. Sean Peck on the right.
Are you shitting me? This
It's
is
the
Three
three
Tremors?
tremors. Okay. So this this is the LA Burning Fest. So I guess this show that the headliners were the three tremors with Ross the Boss and Riot 5 or whatever the band is now, right?
Okay, yeah.
They're the headliners. It was a power metal festival that was supposed to happen at this venue. It was supposed to be an outdoor stage and everything.
Okay.
So supposedly, and this, like I said, this comes courtesy of Danny Shipman, who was, he was obviously worked on the Bay Area Godfathers movie with Bob
Sure.
Nalbandian, and just he's been a guy here in the Bay Area for a long time, in the scene and thrash scene. He went to this festival. Yeah, this was supposed to be a big power metal festival. I guess by the time the show was supposed to start around 3 or so, nothing was set up, nothing was going on. They had to
Oh
put, I guess they
man.
didn't get the permits or something. They had to put a makeshift like into this room next door, I guess, of the venue. It looks like it's in someone's living room or kitchen or whatever it is
Yeah.
there. And this is your show that they had. This is what these guys played. I mean, can you fucking believe that?
I guess they were committed to it, or they had a contract, so they did it. Oh,
Well, supposedly too. Now, from what, like I said, the stuff that was going on, Ross the Boss refused to play until he got paid. I guess these guys, I give them credit. They played, I think, even before they got paid ahead of
all
time.
right.
For the fans. Obviously there was only about maybe about 100 people there, so it didn't draw well at all. Basically a total shit show, an absolute shit show, literally. I mean,
That literally looks like they're playing into someone's living room.
it
That's
is.
fucking
I mean,
terrible.
it looks like me and my bro. Any of you and your friends just put a drum set together and bring out a couple
Yeah.
amps and set up. I mean, it's fucking terrible, man.
Well, bravo to these guys if they got paid. I mean, I'm friendly with both Sean and with Ripper, but wow.
Look at that.
I have to admit, if I came to do a book signing for one of my books, and that's the room they gave me, I'm walking.
Yeah, for a book signing, you'd be pissed.
I wouldn't do it.
Let alone to play a festival.
Yeah, I would if I was expecting to do a
eye level. I mean,
to do a festival gig, and I ended up, okay, here you go. Don't trip over the sink on your way to the stage.
Exactly.
No, I'd be like, I'm not doing that. Absolutely not.
I mean, these promoters, I think they're called Mentalize Productions. Yeah, probably the worst. I mean, in the world. I mean, obviously they were, getting hammered by these guys and by the other
I'd
bands too,
imagine.
of course. But I just had to bring that up because I thought that was pretty funny.
Dude,
I mean, it's funny but sad.
We have to keep it in mind for next time we talk to either Sean or Ripper or Harry Conklin. There isn't Harry.
Yep, absolutely, dude. Because I mean, that's just straight up Spinal Tap looking.
That's fucking bullshit.
It's bullshit. But once again, it's like that. Is that really what this shit's come to, man? I mean, someone fucked up that bad, promoting a show like that in LA. Now it's in LA, it's not like this was in freaking New Mexico or, middle of nowhere, man. In LA, in Hollywood,
right?
And they weren't able to pull that off. I mean, that's just, yeah. Just but once I just when I thought of Hollywood and LA, obviously I just had to bring that up. But
thinking about it though, I understand why they would have to play it. They probably, even if they didn't get paid their whole freight, Ripper's got to pay for his plane tickets.
Well, yeah,
and I don't know where Conklin is from, but I don't think he's an LA guy, right? He's like a Nashville guy or something, isn't he?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
South Carolina or something.
I know
he's not from LA.
I know Peck is San Diego. I know.
So so for Peck, it's a drive. For Peck, it's all right. I lost $40 in gas or whatever.
Well, yeah. Well, Ross the Boss and Riot, they're New York.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
So they're from across the country. Yeah. So, yeah,
which is why he wouldn't play unless he got paid. I get that.
Yeah. No, absolutely, man. So,
wow.
I mean, it's just the more we see, and it makes you realize sometimes too, like sometimes when I look at something like that, we're talking about obviously very seasoned and professional musicians that were now succumb to play in a spot. That's just got to feel like such shit. Listen, even if anything goes bad, and like I said, I give them absolutely credit, all of them, for still playing for the fans. You know what I mean? But it makes you see the direction. I mean, do you think a hip hop, group would have had to go through that?
Hell no.
No.
Hell no.
Dude,
the lack of respect is astounding.
It is.
It really, I mean, for God's sakes, Ripper was in Judas fucking Priest, for God's sakes.
Exactly. He was in Judas fucking Priest, man. Come on.
He was in Judas Priest that 2 weeks ago was on the stage getting inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Exactly.
And he's playing in somebody's living room. Get the fuck out of here with this
shit. It's
insane,
man. Like you said, the level of disrespect, or just a level of incompetence with people that are now in the business working with these, these artists.
Dude, it's let me just tell you, this is a story from literally 2 hours ago. This is how crazy this world is. So I got forwarded a a 4-song sampler from a band.
Mhm.
And I won't say the name of the band. I'll tell you off the air who it is. But the band sent me their sampler, and I was listening to it. I was doing some other work, but I was listening to it in the background. And it's kind of like AOR or, that kind of music.
Mhm.
And I was listening to it, and I listened to one song, and it just felt short to me. And you know how those songs like the Eddie Moneys and Loverboys of the world, they would do the second chorus, and then they would repeat the chorus again, like with full vocal to go to play it itself out.
Mhm.
Well, it didn't do that, and I felt like it should do that. So I threw it back to him, and I said, "Hey, can you do this with this song? I like this tune, but I think if you're shopping this, it would do better with this, right?"
Mhm.
And immediately I get an email back from this band, and somebody that knows me, and he says, "Dude, you should start a record label." And I'm not kidding. And I was like, and I know why, because I hear things, and I have ideas, and I have legitimate ideas. But my immediate reaction was hell no. And when I was asked why hell no, what you just showed me is why I said hell no, because I don't want to be lumped in with that.
Mhm.
And there's so many of those guys
Yeah.
that if you're in that business, you're considered a piece of shit
You are
automatically.
automatically.
And I mean, I know you ran a label at
Yeah,
one
and
point.
and I was considered that too, man. Trust me, I
Yeah.
absolutely. I think I've told you. That's why I stopped. I realized I don't want to do anything with music in a business that involves the exchange of money.
Yeah.
Because like you said, it's you either got people in the business that don't understand it.
Mhm.
They're not coming in from your angle where it's like, well, I laid the money
Yeah.
out here. I need to get my fucking return on, my return first before any of us can
Mhm.
get paid. So, a lot of these people don't know how business works. They don't know how the music business works. A lot of the
Sure.
artists.
Mhm.
And yeah, and like you said, you're looked at as the money guy. That's it.
Right.
If,
Well,
if you pay them well and everything works out well for them, they're gonna like you.
yeah, of
But if
course.
things don't work out well, they don't sell as much. Well, you didn't market us well enough. You didn't promote us well enough. It's always going to be your fault why that
Mhm.
record did not succeed.
And the sad truth of it is 9 of every 10 people in the industry are pieces of shit.
Yeah, absolutely, and they
And
are. That is what it's. It is. It's true.
and so if you get lumped into that, people are always looking for you to fuck them over.
Well, that's what it is. Automatically, like you said, you're automatically
Yeah.
label owner, promoter, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
You a manager, you're automatically a piece of shit
Right.
until proven otherwise.
Well,
You know what I mean?
see, I think it's the other way. I think you're automatically. I mean, look, Ripper Owens does gigs all over the world.
Yeah.
I'm sure they go well all over the world. I'm
Mhm.
sure I mean, some are better than others, but I'm sure they're not what you just showed me.
Mhm.
But that one that you just showed me in his 35 years of doing it is going to be the reminder to him that promoters are always shitheads.
Exactly. Yep. Exactly.
And that just sucks. It just sucks because the whole industry suffers because there's just such a lack of trust. And it's a deserved lack of trust.
Well, there's a lack of trust, and there's also a lack of money. There's no money in it.
Yeah, there's no money in it.
I think at least at one point back, in the 80s, 90s, whatever, there was at least money in it. So even if there was pieces of shit, everyone was getting some piece of the pie, and we're getting something. Now nobody's getting anything. And that's what it comes down to. No one's making anything. So promoters obviously like, well, I don't want to just do this for fucking free. I at least want to get my money back. So do label owners, because it's a lot of fucking work. I mean, sure, it's a lot of work, obviously, for the bands and the artists to make their music, but that's coming from a different place. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think when you're a business person in music business, when you, like you said, you're a label owner, promoter, whatever it is you're doing, I mean, for you to get paid, like I said, and even if you make deals with people up front, they know what it is going into it, they're still not happy.
Right.
There's always a way they're going to be pissed off at you, like, oh, you took too much. You should have took it that much. It was only this year. I should have got more. And that's the shitty part about it, because you've got people who are, listen, let's be honest, people who are getting it. It's like this guy, John Gist. I mean, he's not into it, obviously, for the money. He's charging $10 to get in the door. That guy right there is not in it for the money. And like I said, I am glad that a lot of bands do recognize that. He's one of the rare guys.
Yeah.
But there's still going to be people that probably tour, go to Vegas, not a great turnout, and they're going to leave unhappy and thinking they got stiffed. Where this is a guy who lost money. So in the end, they're losing money because they're coming to play. They're not making much back. They get their guarantee or whatever is the deals they make.
Yeah.
But they're not going to be happy. And then of course the promoter's not happy because he lost money.
Right.
So no one is happy. And then that's why everyone does the whole, well, what am I even doing this for then? Why am I wasting my time if this is going nowhere? And the thing is, like with me, when I did my label, the only thing I wanted, I guess I knew I wasn't going to make money. In fact, I knew I was going to lose a shitload of money, which I did.
Sure.
And I was okay with that. All I wanted, though, to do was at least build relationships with the bands I worked with people in the industry. That to me was worth more than anything to me. And even though I did, for a while there, and now, of course, years later, I think some of the bands and artists, they're more like a little bit like, okay, I think they understand what went on, and it wasn't me or nothing. It's just the nature of the business, and so they haven't made a big deal about it. But a lot of them, yeah, I got looked at as like, I think I told you a story one time. One of my bands had put out a record, was doing pretty decent. They played a show one night, and I had signed another band, and I guess they probably weren't happy about me signing another band.
Right.
And then one of the guys in the camp, they're all sitting there, they're all talking in Spanish too, and around me, so that I can't hear what's going on. And then I hear one of the guys just go like, one of their buddies who I was actually cool with, was just shouted out like, "Yeah, what about time for a new record, man?" Or something like that. And it's just like, oh, this is what these guys are shooting the shit about. They're pissed I signed another band. They think I should be putting money into this band, put on a new record, even though we're still working on this record. It's still new. It's still not old.
Yeah.
And once again, it's just all that shit that kind of, and then eventually, you kind of have a disagreement on shit, and then it ain't cool. So that's like I said, what sucks is you spend all that time, and all that money, all that energy, and in the end, what happens? You don't even get the relationships out of it, and that's what's sad about anything.
And it's at all levels, dude. That's the scariest part of it is I know you were running a small label, and these are small bands. They're not. It's not.
Absolutely.
Anthrax or whoever.
Hardcore bands, yeah, exactly.
No, it's just smaller hardcore bands. But I'll give you an example I got yesterday, and before I say this, I'm going to state for an absolute fact that I don't have knowledge of this. I'm just making an assumption from what I see, the same as any other fan could see, but it seems pretty obvious to me what I'm about to tell you. So, obviously everybody in the world has heard of the band Journey.
Yeah, oh yes, I've heard.
And everybody is seeing this whole, they're suing each other and everything else right now, right? So Frontiers Records I don't know if they put it out last week or this week, but they're putting out a live record from Journey.
Okay.
Which is straight horrible, for the record. If anybody wants to know, it's a fucking terrible record. But regardless of that, so yesterday I get the promo for the live record, right?
Okay.
And I know for a fact that this is the biggest deal that Frontiers has ever made.
It's got to be, right? Journey?
They named their label after a Journey album.
Oh, there you go. Exactly.
Their commitment to Journey is off the chart. And to finally get Journey on their label is like the biggest thing for Serafino and the people at Frontiers Records. And I know this.
Sure.
So moving forward, I get this promo for this Journey live record yesterday. And what does it say right across the top? The band are not available for interviews. And I'm thinking to myself, how fucking mad must everybody at Frontiers Records that have probably busted their ass in a 2-year plan? Because this is they put out a regular record in like June or something.
Okay.
And then they put out this live record. This was all planned.
Sure.
And because it's a band on that level.
Yeah.
2 years of planning, and now the band's simply not going to help the label recoup their money. Why?
Yeah.
Because they're in an internal dispute amongst themselves.
Well, and everyone's going to ask
wanna
questions about
questions.
that. Exactly. Yep.
Exactly. So they're willing to say, "Hey, label that just fucked me or that just fronted me, we're willing to fuck you over now.
Thanks for your help and see.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for the money."
Exactly.
And
good luck selling the fucking record.
And now it's up to you to sell this live record that's a dog, with no help from the band.
Yeah.
And I just thought I see stuff like that. And that's why, again, I'm going to circle back to when I was saying about the guy asking me to start a record label. Just know
No,
I don't
no.
want to be involved with those kind of. I mean, this is Journey, for God's sakes, not fucking some, 4 guys that are fresh out of the garage.
Exactly.
These are guys that have made billions with a B of dollars.
Yeah.
And they're that kind of petty. They're shitty. And the labels are universally known for being shitty.
Yep.
And concert promoters are universally known for being shitty.
Yep.
And musical accountants are always known for stealing money from bands and not paying the royalties. And I mean, name a position in the music industry, any position in any form, where people look at it and go, well, those guys are generally okay.
No, there's not.
None.
No. I mean, the only thing you might get is maybe like a reputable management company or manager, maybe, but yeah, it's just, I mean, it's always been, and it always has been, always will be just a shit storm of an industry.
It's the worst. It is. I mean,
worst.
dude, even guys that have these, how many of these guys that are at the higher level do most people look at as shitheads because they only promote their friends, or they promote it if they're making money? I'll pick on Eddie Trunk.
Eddie Trunk, I was going to say,
Eddie Trunk's a great example. Eddie Trunk he's more than willing to promote any fucking show. He'll bag on every single band known to man that's doing backing tracks, except when Wasp comes on his show and he won't ask the question.
I mean, come on.
And he won't ask the question to those bands because they're on his show.
And he knows they're using them, though. Yeah, exactly. He knows they're using them. But it is. It's such it's a total hypocritical fucking thing. It's like, that whole thing with the fallen reverse guy. It's like, that's what, listen, every band's doing it. Yeah, listen, and if you are a band that's not doing it, if you're like a classic rock, okay, that's great. But it's true. I mean, think about it. Bands since the 90s, 2000s, they've got a lot of samples in music. They use hip hop, a lot of them. They use I mean, that's just the way it is. You know what I mean? I mean, I know for a fact when I saw the Alice in Chains show, there was that band Breaking Benjamin. I mean, it sounded way too close to perfect. The way the sound was and everything was on point. I was like, there's no doubt these guys are using backing tracks. But look, it sounded good live, being like it sounded close like the album. I'm not a fan of them, but if you're a fan of them, you're going to be happy with that performance. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's not the old,
it's not the old days. It's
not the old days.
I have an insider spy that was at the Pantera rehearsals.
Oh, okay.
And the report I got back was Pantera sounds exactly like they did on the records. And you know what my first question was? Does Pantera sound like they sound on the records, or are the records synced to the band playing?
Yeah, exactly.
Of which I think they were playing.
I think they were playing, yes.
Yeah.
I think that's the word, think.
Yeah. So
I mean, come on. You really think, I mean, as great as a player as Zach Wilder, you think he's going to be able to replicate doing what Dime did?
I don't know. I don't think anybody can
replicate that. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. I don't think you should be I don't think you should be expected to replicate that.
And I'm sure he'll do a great job. And I'm sure Charlie will do a great. I'm certain that Charlie will do a great job.
Charlie,
he's a fucking great drummer.
Phenomenal.
But and I'm sure those shows will be good. But would it shock me any even if they're taking Zach's guitars and maybe they're playing Dimes underneath it? That wouldn't shock me.
It wouldn't shock me either. Nope.
And to be honest, I don't think I'd be upset about that either. I want a good show.
Yeah, you want a good show. I mean, I think that's what it comes down to, right? You want a good show. People want to go and they want to hear. They don't want to hear. Like you said, let's be honest, right? A lot of the way the music's recorded now, too, it's not recorded analog; it's recorded digitally. So it's going to sound so different live if you don't really kind of use some sort of something like that. It's just going to not sound the same. And it's just like, what? And it makes sense. You're going to record that way anyway because it's a lot cheaper. It's a lot easier. You're not going to go back to, I mean, when I interviewed that band, those the Great Bathers, they did the analog. The guy was like, yeah, I don't know if we're going to do that again. That was a pain in the ass. I mean, that was a lot of work to get that. Now, it came out great. It's a great record. It's a great sound. It sounds straight out of the 70s. But once again, not everybody wants something to sound like that either. Everybody wants something to sound new. Especially if you're a younger kid. I remember we grew up, right? I hear like hear Def Leppard's Pyromania. Man, it sounds so good, so fresh, so
Yeah.
modern. And I hear like my dad putting on some old Stones or Beatles, and I'm just like, God, I can't stand the sound of this stuff because it sounds old.
Yeah.
So a lot of young kids don't want to, especially young kids, they don't want to hear something that sounds old.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they don't. Especially I always love that. And to me, it's just a horseshit thing, and it always has been since the day CDs came out. You always heard people saying, "Well, I still want to listen to vinyl. It sounds so much warmer." No, it doesn't. Sorry, it doesn't. It sounds shittier. It pops. It sounds like garbage. And you know what? I didn't want to hear it then. I don't want to hear it now. I just want to hear the bands play. I don't want to decipher it through a haze of plastic that's melted wrong and fucking, and bad edits and bad cuts. I mean, look, I know how recording works. I know that some of these bands do hundreds and hundreds of tracks. I'd much rather hear a record that's done on Pro Tools with hundreds of tracks where I could just drag and cut and move on. Then I would rather hear Hysteria from Def Leppard, where there's guys lining up hundreds of pieces of tape, and it takes a year to put it together.
That's why those records did take that long, exactly.
Yeah, and that's why they cost like $2 million.
Millions of dollars, exactly. Yep.
I'm fine with a $20,000 record where I can hear all the elements and it just sounds okay. It sounds fine.
Yeah, it's just like I said, it's a different learning and listening experience for everybody, and but just going back to just our original topic of just really discussing really just the change. I mean, like I said, I don't want to. I hate to doom and gloom talk. I always try to say like it's I'm hopeful. I think things are going to get better. I mean, maybe rock and metal. Yeah, I mean, so for instance, just going back to the Hollywood thing. And like I said, I think Hollywood's it's always been, historically horrendous for rock and metal.
Sure.
Now, for instance, you've got, and I kind of alluded to this on our last Tremors. I didn't want to mention a name, but now I see so many articles coming out about this person that they're trying to push and make like the new face of rock and metal is fucking, Hollywood is Willow Smith. You've seen
Willow
this,
Smith?
right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. You've seen all this all around, right?
Mm-hmm.
And once again, I mean, it's bringing a lot of the, talk about, well, there's not enough diversity once again in metal and rock. And it's just, a whole bunch of old white guys that, control the industry. Well, yeah, I mean, they do. I mean, there's no lying about that, but it has nothing to do with, I mean, what do you call it? Getting a fair shake, people of that, of color or ethnicities. Getting a fair shake in metal. Listen, you could speak to anybody who's gone to shows or been in the industry. I never heard or seen anything, and I've lived in 4 major cities.
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen anything that that could back up that assertion that it's just they're gatekeepers.
No.
It's in one demographic. That's a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah.
I mean, now you see how many freaking female artists do we see now compared to the past? You can't compare it.
And it's people they're so willing to look past the actual proof to the agenda. Look, in the 90s, long before everybody was worried about what color anybody was, you took black guys and you had Death Row Records and you had what was Puff Daddy's label?
Bad Boy.
Bad Boy.
Entertainment, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And in that 90, I would say 91 to 99 era, and who's the other one? No Limit.
No Limit, yeah. Master P, yeah.
Master P. You put those 3 labels together, you probably have half 60% a billion records sold.
60% of the music records sold right there. Exactly.
Yeah, and those were all run by black guys.
Yeah, so it's nothing to do with that.
It has nothing to. What it has to do with is the culture, the community that we're talking about, what they listen to. You know why there's not a lot of black people at metal shows? Because there's not a lot of black people listening to metal.
Listen to metal. It's the bottom line. That's the bottom line.
That's why, I mean, how are you going to bring Suge Knight in to turn around Metal Blade Records? Yeah. No, because he wouldn't know the first fucking thing about cattle decapitation.
Well, let's get real. Well, because it's not, metal's not really into urban music, But once again, rap, hip hop, you could create that for cheap. That's why that stuff became about. They just took their parents' old records,
Right.
the soul and jazz and blues records, and just made songs out of them from the music.
And
That's how it all started.
And look at the condition of rap today. Now that it is run by people that are outside the culture, it's
garbage. Shit. There's no music. It's all beats. There's no music.
Yeah,
in it.
it's all beats. It's all bullshit. But it's all culturally friendly.
Yeah, well, it spans all different, all the different genre. I mean, all the different, cultures and stuff. It's like
the music doesn't have to be good, but God damn it, Bad Bunny's Latino or whatever, so he's gonna get 4 Grammys. I mean, that's the culture we're in now.
It is.
And it's garbage. It's absolute garbage.
It is. I mean, when we think of rock now, like I said, we've said this a lot. It's not even rock. Like I said, people say rock, they don't think of bass, guitar, and drums.
No.
It's the electro rock. It's the Imagine Dragons. It's that shit.
Yeah, Mumford and Sons.
Yeah, all that. I mean, that's just like you said. It's either the digital popped up stuff or it's country. Like rock is a lot of the fans of rock, like you said, these people get older, they'll listen to Jason Aldean and listen to these guys.
Yeah.
Brad Paisley, whoever. It's like country's taking a big chunk of the rock, like the regular rock fans. You know what I mean? Now,
well, it's because they smoothed it down. They got rid of just enough twang,
exactly,
to where you don't have to be considered a hillbilly to listen to it anymore.
Yeah, they're not singing about their pickup trucks and stuff anymore.
Well, and they don't dress the part either. I mean,
true. That too.
If you watch a football game, you see hot Carrie Underwood looking smoking hot, not dressed like a country girl.
Country girl.
She's
like
dressed
Hollywood.
She's dressed like a Hollywood model.
That's it. Yeah,
singing in sort of a country way, and people think of that as rock. I would think most people think that NFL waiting all day for Sunday night song is a rock song.
Well, they probably do. Well, I mean, right? It was a cover.
It's a country song.
Yeah.
But I mean, her version is a country.
Well, her version is a country song. Yeah,
her version's a country song. It's not rock at all.
Well, it's that whole country rock, right? Just like they tried to do with like Tim McGraw and them.
Yeah,
they tried to mix the country with soft rock. You said, chewing it down, stop singing about the country stuff in the South, and let's just stick to regular themes of music.
Yeah.
Put on your cowboy hat. That's like considered now country. Just put on a cowboy hat, even though you're wearing like Gucci clothes or whatever the fuck it is. Yeah. And there you go. That's what you got is your modern country, like I said.
And they've done like we were talking about too. They've stuffed in a couple of guys to be culturally appropriate. Yep. Little Nas and Darius Rucker, and they've thrown in a couple black guys so that now it's all inclusive. It's the all inclusive kind of music now.
Exactly.
And it's all shit. It's all manufactured.
It is. It's manufactured
garbage.
It's all controlled and manufactured. It's all created in an office and lab. It's not created in the studio. Like it's they're just they're puppets. These musicians and stuff.
Dude,
now those pop musicians.
The worst part is looking to the future. And boy, since we're not trying to make it all doom and gloom, let me go even further. Have you heard some of these AI rock and metal songs that are done completely where they just tell the computer, well, we want something fast with X number of beats a minute?
I've not seen this yet. No, I don't know if I want it, man.
It's not terrible. And that is absolutely scary.
That's what's scary if it's not terrible.
It's not it's not terrible to where damn well a record label is going to invent meta characters, meta universe characters. They're going to create bands that are going to have original music.
Yeah, that's man. I don't even. Well, so yes, that is. I mean, I don't think you can get more doom and gloom than that. You know what I mean? Just thinking about that.
Yeah.
But it makes, and then like I said, that's why I think it really, when it comes down to it, we're really just becoming dinosaurs with this stuff, man. We really are. Our scene, our typical metal. It is. It's done, man. Now. It's done of what we once knew it was. I mean, all we can do is, I say, we're a modern day sort of classical music audience.
Yeah.
Now it is what it is. Like you're going to draw 30 people to a show. Maybe, or of course, if you get a couple of a decent bands you can put on a bill, you might you'll get more than that and stuff like. But I mean, it's just, especially for, like I said, for new up and coming things. I give a lot of these younger kids a lot of credit. Like I was saying, this band Spirit Mother, I'm looking at them. They just went on the
Sure.
road, took a van out. You know, I just talking to the singer for a little bit. It's like I feel bad for them because it's like they really, they're trying to, have this dream and become this sort of,
Yeah.
influential rock and roll band.
Hmm.
And it sucks because they just don't have a chance. They don't have
Well,
a
that's
chance. No,
it,
how
man.
good they are.
They're literally having a dream that their dad had.
Exactly. No, you're right. Exactly.
Because
That's a good point.
it's not a dream that happens
Yeah,
today. I
exactly.
mean, who is the closest thing to a metal star that's come out since 2015?
Oh, jeez, dude.
That's what I mean. I mean, dude, if I
I
tell you
know.
to name me 10 metal stars that came out in the 90s, you can do that off the top of your
Oh,
head.
yeah. Even the
But
2000s, you can name some, but yeah.
but 2015, that's not a small birth anymore. That's going on 8 years. That's
Yeah,
like
no, it's
8
going
years
years.
of
Yeah.
time. In 8 years of
Mhm.
time, we can't name a band. What are we going to name? Greta Van Fleet,
I
which
mean,
I think
that
is
would
already
probably
over.
be, and that's already over. I mean, that
That
was a little flash in the pan. They're
yeah,
still holding on to them as like, I mean, I don't know why, because they've got nothing
yeah.
else, and then
Well,
because
yeah.
they're brothers and they have a story, that's the
Mhm.
key important ingredient to
And the other
their
band that was
marketing.
hot for a minute, Rival Sons.
Yeah.
Rival Sons was, getting all the love from the late night shows, and was getting the
They're
Hollywood
still one of those
love.
bands. They're still one of those bands, but like you said, not as much though.
Well, I think Rival Sons, to their credit, have become the modern day version of the Black Crowes. They're working
Yeah,
more
okay, you can
toward
see that.
they found their fan base, and they're going to play to them.
Yeah.
They don't give a shit about all that Hollywood acclaim that they got them nothing. But
I wouldn't say it got them nothing. It
didn't
yeah,
get them enough. It's
no,
like the
didn't.
Black Crowes. The Black
It,
Crowes, remember when they came
yeah,
out, they got a lot of
MTV
attention.
love. They got the MTV love. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
But then they went away from it anyway and just
They,
played to the audience that they wanted.
well, you said it because they found their audience and they said, you know what, this, Well, they also saw the writing on the wall. They got
Mhm.
big towards the tail end too,
Yeah,
right before as grunge was coming on. So they
sure.
were, and they were never because they never had the whole glam look.
Mhm.
They had a real just light tinge of it with more of the retro hippie look.
Yeah.
They didn't really. I don't think, like I said, their fashion, whatever you want to call it, it didn't resonate. And like I said, the scene was over by the time they were really getting
Yeah.
huge. So they just kind of came in at I think a good time. People like them, obviously, in Guns N' Roses, so that were able to.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like I said, but they just it was also just because at that point rock was out. I mean, it was just
Mhm.
like I said, grunge came in. It was everything was alternative. So they
Sure.
at least had that Sunset Strip, MTV crowd, and then they also had a lot of the classic rock fans who, just they were modern day
But they stuck
Stones, is what
with
they
them
were,
though. They stuck with them is my thing is,
Yeah, they did. They did. Yeah, yeah.
Black Crowes are still a big band. They're still
Well,
a
they
very
stuck with
big
them
band.
because that was still the business model was still the same back then.
Yeah.
It was working.
But I mean, they're
These days the
still a
Rival
big band.
Sons.
The business model ain't there
Oh yeah,
anymore,
yeah.
but they're still, I
Well,
guess them and
like
Pearl Jam. Pearl Jam be the other
like we
one.
know nostalgia, right? It's taken over.
Mhm.
These young kids are
Yeah.
not. You said they're not going to go see Spirit Mother for $10.
Yeah.
They hear about Guns N' Roses, they hear about Black Crowes, they're going to go see
Mhm.
them with their dad or their uncle or their cousins or whoever it is. Yeah, they're not going to get a bunch of their friends up and go, hey, let's go to this little show that's down the, that's in the city. It's at this little club.
Yeah.
It's only $10. Let's get in there. I mean, and like I said, I think one of the reasons too is just because socially, like I said, I
Yeah.
used to love going to those things because, yeah, I mean, these are people that were, I thought socially, equivalent to how I was.
Sure.
Now people don't care about that, because you just meet each other through text anyway. You don't go and mingle at a show.
Right.
Everyone just, I mean, that's the thing too. I was sitting there, everyone's just glued to their phone. They can't
Mhm.
I was on my phone a little bit, but I was there by myself. This show I went to in Vegas,
Sure.
but I just kind of looked around, and that's what everyone's doing in between. No one's sitting trying to talk to each other. Everyone's just sitting
Mhm.
there, boom, on
Yeah.
their phone. So even if you want to go talk to someone, it's kind of hard to break that ice these days.
All right, let me throw a scenario out here and tell me if this is crazy or if this is a possibility.
Okay.
The key to success for a band like that
Uh-huh.
in the next 10 years will be to have a great computer programmer attached to them that can do the whole metaverse thing with the band. The next great band will be a
Absolutely.
metaverse band.
Probably will be, dude. Probably will be. You know, if they have their way, if big tech has their way, what they want to do with these young kids, I
Well, they're
mean,
already
yeah,
doing it. They had the
yeah,
virtual Ozfest, what, a week or two ago?
yeah,
That was all done in the metaverse
they did.
with like Meta Ozzy and
Wow,
Meta.
I didn't even know about this. I think
Oh
I heard a
yeah,
little
they
bit,
did
but
it.
oh wow,
They did. I saw some
fucking
of the
lord, man.
screenshots and I was like, oh, that looks fucking tacky and terrible. But if you're trying, and again, starting it with old bands to me is stupid. You're not going to get 50 and 60-year-old guys putting on those fucking dumb goggles to watch an Ozzy show.
I know, no.
But I could see it really happening with
Well, it's
rap.
well, it's for you know, I can see, of course, we can see it happen for rap. I mean, that you know, rap is been made for that. It's just Hollywood can control it so
Yeah.
easily. You're controlling one person, you're not controlling a band, and so it's so easy to do. You know, that's
Mhm.
what I said. We don't have bands anymore. Every kid that's good is just doing their own thing. If they, you know, playing their instrument. I mean, it's just I think, like you said, I think you know, sometimes as we're talking about this stuff, I'm thinking to myself, man, what are we even doing this stuff for? Man? You know, when you think about it, it's like, you know, it's like we're sitting there trying to, you know, I mean, you know, get people to listen and get more listeners and viewers, and it's just like right now, it's really just a passion thing. I think whether you're playing the music,
Yeah.
it's definitely for old folks like us, man. It's
Mhm.
definitely our generation's thing. We still there's enough people that still got the bug.
Yeah.
I think most people are doing it now. You know, I mean, obviously there's enough of business for some of these, you know, a lot of these musicians that have been doing it for a while, at least to continue.
Sure.
And I think if you're a new band or artist, I mean, you know, if I think about it, really the bands I've been kind of into are a lot of guys who just either had
Mhm.
played in bands before or been playing in bands for years that somehow got a decent band together and made a little bit of waves. You know what I mean? Like
Sure.
these aren't spring chickens, a lot of them that are playing these shows. Like you said,
No.
you go to these shows, a lot of them are guys like us because we're the ones that
Mhm.
can you know, not only afford it, but we know, okay, yeah, I'll wake up and feel like crap the next day, no big deal. I'm used to it. I've been doing this my whole life.
Yeah.
All these other kids, they don't do
Mhm.
that. You know, like I said, they don't want to go into their tech job and have a hangover and, you know, have
Yeah.
people smell alcohol on them. So it's, you know, but you really just, the more we talk about this, it's just, it's like, wow. I mean,
Dude,
yeah, yeah,
I hate to say it, but what was once popular music is now the very, very underground.
it's very underground, man. And I've been saying this for a while, which is why I always said, if there's going to be any kind of new scenes or any kind of any up and coming something with rock and metal, it's got to start and just stay for a while at that
Mhm.
local level. Just
Yeah.
focus there. Stop worrying about getting in your van and going cross country. Worry about hitting those 3 or 4 cities. That's you know, within a
Mhm.
3 or 4 hour radius. Do that over and over and over. I mean, that's all you do.
Yeah.
Just keep doing that. Get your audience in a you know, and be happy with that. You know, be happy that you know, you could keep putting out a record on a decent little label or something, so you
Mhm.
don't have to spend your money because that's really the best it's going to get. And you hope, you know, maybe you can make it on the festivals overseas and get
Yeah.
discovered somehow. I mean, that's really the only way to do it.
Dude, a
You know,
great example of a guy. Now, this guy does have a little bit of clout because he was an American Idol guy, so people know of him. But a
Durbin.
guy that's doing it the right way is Durbin.
Yeah.
James Durbin. I mean, he really isn't touring. He just
Hmm.
plays, but he plays a lot. He does play a lot, but he plays a lot in San Diego and LA
California. Yeah.
and San
Mhm.
Francisco and and he plays different. I see stuff with him. He's playing fucking supper clubs, the same as like you're saying.
You got it
That's a
these
guy
days.
that's a
Yeah.
guy that played in front of fucking 50 million people watching at one point.
Sure. Sure.
But he's made a solid career for himself.
Yeah, well, you have to be humble about it. You know,
Yeah.
you've got to be humble and say, yeah, I'm gonna play that freaking coffee shop, like you said, or a
Yeah.
supper club, or you know, it's just like I said, this show I saw was in a barbecue spot. I
Yeah.
mean, it's just the way it is. I mean,
Mhm.
listen, I remember years ago I went to see this show. There's this place I think I've talked about it before. It's out here in the Bay Area. It's called Toots Tavern. It's in this little town about a half hour north from here, 40 minutes north, little fisherman town. It's got this
Okay.
bar with just this tiny little stage in there. That's where I
Sure.
saw the Watchers, and I saw you know, there's a, like I said, a bunch of, you know, smaller bands. I think even Pat Travers played there. It's one of those things where you're having a lot of those guys, a lot of older guys who are you know, trying to tour. They got to play these spots now. I mean, it's like
Yeah.
you're playing bars. I remember when I saw Prong play at this bar. You know, it was really a bar. It's called the
Mhm.
Parkside. It's a small, tiny little club bar thing. Well, I saw them play in there. I mean, there's no backstage or nothing. It's literally a
Right.
fucking dive bar. And I'm like, I remember thinking then, like, wow, I can't believe I'm sitting here watching a band here who would play, play open for Pantera, play in the big venues,
Sure.
and here they are, playing a bar, But it's been
Mhm.
slowly going that way for a long time, especially here in the States. It's not just here. I really is. I'm hearing, like I said, this is happening all across the globe. It's just, of course, if you're still an American band, if you still go to certain parts of the world, they're gonna pay you a pretty good amount of money to come, just to their place, but to their country, because it's just a huge deal to get anybody from America, to come to a place like that. So, but those places will pay up, and you might get a couple hundred people because you're the biggest draw that's ever been there in 10 years. But I
Right.
mean, or biggest name, I should say, outside of their country. So, other than that, it's just such a grassroots thing now. You really have to take it from just that level, and just do it the old fashioned way, and just, like you said, just keep it local, tour
Mhm.
certain, spots. You get noticed. You hopefully, like you said, get on some festivals. Then that
Yeah.
gets you maybe on some future shows and packages. If once you build connections and once people see you play in a larger, setting. So,
Yeah.
it's all it is. It's all it's going to be. And I
Mhm.
think we all just got to get used to it. And like I said, I'm at the point where I'm going to stop griping about the music business and how it is, because I'm not. I'm going to
Yeah.
stop completely, because, but I'm going to stop harping on it, because there's
Yeah.
no point in beating a dead horse. I mean, it just is what it
Yeah. I
is.
mean, it's it.
You
It's
know?
it's definitely a dead horse, and ultimately, there are so many great bands that are out there right now for whatever reason that we might as well celebrate what they're doing
Yeah.
instead of. I mean, look,
Instead of
for all the
complaining.
doom. I mean,
Yeah.
this is an hour and a half of straight doom and gloom. And that being said, if you go over
Uh,
to Seismic Sounds and just I don't care if you've ever heard of the bands or not. If you go over to the Seismic Sounds website or over to Aftershocks TV, either one, and just start pushing buttons, you
mhm,
will find great music.
you will.
You won't know, you may not know the names. I don't know the name, the old, what is it?
Mhm.
The old Ololith or whatever?
The Odalith, yeah.
The Odalith. I don't know. I still don't know their name, but I listened to it because I checked out the interview and it was fucking great.
Mhm.
And and I mean, dude, a band that I always go back to. It's one of my favorites that I play all the time right now. And this is old school. This was interview number 1 or 2 for Aftershocks.
Mhm.
Witch Skull.
Oh god, yeah. Yeah, they have a new album out. That's, yeah.
I love the Witch
Love them.
Skull. They
You
are
know,
fantastic.
you're not the only one. This Vegas guy, John, I was telling you about, Gist, the promoter, who's been talking about getting him over here because he's a huge fan of him too. So
They're
yeah,
so
yeah,
good.
Tom, our buddy Tom Brennan,
Yeah,
he bought that record from that interview,
right?
because he checked them out, and I think we were playing samples back then too when we
Sure.
first started, and he was like, "Wow, this stuff's great." Like I said, just very Sabbathy, and if you like that
Yeah.
kind of stuff, it's a great modern version of it.
And
So
that's
yeah,
what I'm saying. I'm saying there's
yeah,
tons of it out there.
oh, tons.
You don't have to be waiting for the next Guns N' Roses record or the next Metallica record or the next whatever Fu Manchu record or whatever
Yeah,
style of metal you
mhm.
like. There's bands. There's tons of them,
There's
and they're
tons of them.
good.
We've been saying that for a while, man. Yeah, mhm.
There's tons of them that are good. If you, d- yeah, you're not going to be. It's never going to be hip and cool again.
No,
So
yeah,
just accept that. Buy yourself a Watchers t-shirt, buy yourself a Corvus Lore CD, and go forward with some good music. And
exactly.
don't worry about what your fucking friends say. Who cares? Enjoy it because you enjoy it.
Well, if you're our age and you worry about your friends, what they're still saying, then you got a lot of other problems I think you got to worry
Well,
about. But yeah, but I mean,
yeah,
no, you're right though. I mean, it is those. There's people that still do the, oh, who's that? Just because you didn't hear of them
yeah.
doesn't mean they're not
That doesn't
good.
mean anything. Yeah,
That means nothing.
that is the most annoying. Do we
It
get that
is.
on the CMS all the
Oh,
time because that's
I'm
all
sure you do.
older people?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my god, play a band and they'll be like, "I've never heard of them. They must suck."
Exactly, because you haven't
What
heard of
kind of
them.
fucking logic is that?
Yeah, it's not. Well, it's one of those. Well, that's, if they're not picked up or signed, it means they're
Yeah.
not good,
You know
which is
what?
the biggest sorts of horse shit.
Yeah.
Because yeah, this isn't the 80s and 90s where they're signing a million bands that are making some little bit of a buzz or something. It
Yeah.
doesn't work like that anymore. No one gets
Every
signed like that. It's just it
no.
doesn't work.
Well,
Just
and
that.
every band, I don't care who it is. There was a time that they were a band that you hadn't heard of them.
Well, like you said, Guns N' Roses,
Yeah.
all these bands, Metallica. I mean, can you imagine when Metallica first played, their first show? I mean, they played
Mhm.
mostly covers. You think someone was gonna? I mean, did you really know watching that band if you were there it was gonna be the biggest freaking rock band in the world?
Dude, I remember seeing Metallica in that early era. You know, I've told the
Uh,
story before about seeing them at CMJ
yeah.
before they were anything. And I saw them. I
Mhm,
actually saw them and I loved them, but I
mhm.
had no thought in my mind that that would ever be anything other than I always thought it was going to be my secret heavy band.
There you go. There you go.
I didn't think
Mhm.
they were going to be the biggest band ever. I thought they were going to
Exactly.
be just like that band that I liked that nobody else would ever hear of.
Mhm.
And they just happened to be huge. But that was always all rock, dude. I know you're a huge Prong fan. Did you ever when Prong came out, when Prong first came out,
Yeah.
most people before Snap Your Finger, Snap Your Neck got
Mhm.
big.
Yeah.
Most people did not like Prong.
No, well, they didn't know
They
them.
were and what they did know of them was too heavy for them. The vocal wasn't the right,
Or
it
or
wasn't.
or or for some other guys, it wasn't heavy enough if you were like a
Yeah,
death metal fan.
they,
Exactly. Mhm.
they were that weird in between band.
Yep. Exactly.
You
Yep.
know, they were a
Mhm.
little too everything that somebody didn't like, a little too
Yep.
industrial, so those people, the metal people didn't like the industrial.
Absolutely.
Not
Yep.
enough industrial, so the Nine Inch Nails crowd wouldn't adapt to it.
No, you're right.
Not heavy enough for the Metallica, Megadeth people.
Yep.
Not light enough for the Motley Crue people. Like,
Exactly. Yep.
Prong was the biggest I don't like them band, I think, of all time
Mhm.
until they weren't.
Yeah, no, you're right. Until that sound was actually like, oh no, it became
Yeah.
something. You
Until
know?
White Zombie homogenized it a little bit and ran
Yeah.
wild with it.
With that groove metal stuff, exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Bands like those are two of the biggest ones, exactly. Or
Yeah.
or really Pantera
Yeah.
when they kind of like, grooved it out and they, they
Mhm.
took that thrash and groove and made it something that now other bands could kind of like fit
Sure.
into that area. Exactly.
Yeah,
Mhm. Yeah.
but I mean, people did not know Prong,
No, they didn't. No, they didn't. No, no,
and
no.
now
And
Prong is what, on
they
year 40,
well, and they,
35?
well, that's what I'm saying. They were on major label back then. They got 4 records. You know what I mean? For
Mhm.
a band that really didn't like sell a
Didn't
ton.
fit. Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't fit much. They just knew they were talented, but yeah, they had their own thing. It was like I guess like a groove alternative metal type of thing, whatever you want to call it. And it was just different. Like you're right. Since it didn't fit into that,
Mhm.
and that's always been a thing. I mean, that's another topic that for another day. But I
No,
mean,
but
yeah, I
it
mean, in
plays to
terms
this topic. It plays to this topic of there are great bands. Everybody doesn't have to accept it. That's my
well,
point.
I think what it is we've talked about this too a lot is most music fans need shit spoon fed to them. But and
Mhm.
it's not just spoon fed like, okay, listen to us or pop on seismic sounds and get it fed to them. It's like, no, they need, like you said, it's almost like they need approval, like from other. It's got to be a band that other people have heard of. They
Yeah.
won't just go like, oh, I heard this cool band. Let me tell people about them. It's more
Mhm.
like, oh yeah, they're okay. Who are they? Oh, I never heard of them before. So then they just kind of, even though they like the song, it's just sort of like, well, I never heard of them, so they must
Yeah.
not be that good or that
Yeah.
important. And
Yeah.
so they just, because they're not Guns N' Roses and they don't have the
Yeah, right.
media behind them.
Yeah, because they're
So
not 30 years old. Because who have you heard,
exactly.
like we said before, who have you heard from the last 8 years?
Yeah, no,
Nobody.
nothing, dude. Nobody,
Nobody. We
man.
we we struggled to come up with Greta Van Fleet.
Exactly. And yeah, exactly. And like you said, and they're pretty much they're not doing nothing really. So it's not
No,
like I mean
they're
they get on
over. I think
shows.
they're done. Yeah.
But they were just a little, a little here. Here's a little. We'll throw a little bone for the old dads and grandpas who like Led Zeppelin, and they
Mhm.
can watch their kids and grandkids. Maybe they'll. It was almost like it was a test. Let's see if
Yeah.
this is going to work. Let's see if this nostalgic sound is going to resonate with younger kids and,
Yeah.
of course, with the older crowd. Well, they did resonate with the older crowd, but they haven't resonated with the younger kids. That's the
Yeah, I
thing
don't
about
know.
Greg Van Fleet.
Dude, I think it was a temporary win, but the second
It
record,
is. It
no
is.
one cared at all about the second
No.
record. Same with like Dirty Honey. We love them. Don't get
Yeah,
us
of
wrong. We
course.
love
But
Dirty
that
Honey,
stopped. But that stopped. Yeah.
and it's done. It's done.
Yeah.
It's
I
over.
mean, the best they're going to get is what they got, which was an opening slot with Brock Croge, which is great. But
Yeah.
you're not going to see them with the LA Maybe and with Greta Van Fleet anytime soon.
Yeah.
Doing a tour together and selling out,
No.
amphitheaters or even just
No.
decent sized venues.
No.
Ain't gonna happen.
LA maybe's another one.
Yeah.
You want to talk about a great band that everybody that likes Guns N' Roses, which is everybody,
Yeah.
everybody should
Or
love LA
AC/DC.
Maybe. Yeah,
Exactly.
or AC/DC. Every one of if you like AC/DC and Guns N' Roses or Guns N' Roses, and you are not hip to the LA Maybe, then you're failing yourself.
Yes, because
Because
also the singer tried out for AC/DC when Brian Johnson
Yeah.
Had his volume shit, so he almost got hired by them.
Yeah.
So yeah, there you go. Is that what you need then, people out there, to go check them
Here.
out? I mean, that's
We'll
what you
spoon
need.
feed it to you.
Yeah,
We'll
spoon
spoon
feed it
feed it to you.
exactly. We'll give you the information about them. We'll give you the
Yeah.
music, an interview, and they still
Yeah.
won't listen. So whatever.
Yeah, exactly. And,
Yeah.
and there's lots of them. Airborne.
Yeah.
Anybody that likes AC/DC and doesn't like Airborne is fucking wrong.
Yeah.
It's just wrong.
Exactly.
How
Yeah,
can you not?
I know.
There's no reason to not.
I
But
know. Yeah.
Bullet. You know that band Bullet? Out of
Bullet. Yeah.
Germany?
Yeah.
Another
Germany,
band if you like
Yeah.
AC/DC. And again, I'm pointing to AC/DC on purpose because they're one of the biggest bands of all time.
Exactly.
And they're one of those bands that, even if you don't like rock and metal, rap people like You Shook Me All Night Long.
Yeah.
So
Well, people wearing their T-shirts because they're sold in Target now, so you got to do what
that's
AC/DC
true.
is.
The Kardashians like them, so therefore
Yeah,
it's
they
good.
got them. Exactly. Hollywood and metal, I'll tell you, it's
That's
not
right.
a good mix. It's just
No.
it kills it. But
It is.
like I said, metal needs to just stay in the underground, but needs to be nurtured, and that's what we're not seeing is the nurturing. And like I said, it's just like I said, I think it's just quickly because we're past an hour and a half here. I think with like I said of doom and gloom. I think really what's going to happen is the traditional way of discovering. Like I hate to say it, it's just people aren't going to go out. They're not going out. So I think everything is going to be done really online. I mean, I really think this is how everything's going to be done. Even when you want to see a live band, I mean, you're going to watch it online. I gotta lie, like I watched this thing a couple weeks ago. It was just that band Meswood that interviewed back in the summer. They put on that band. This other great band too. They're sort of like a hard rock, like Thin Lizzy type of band out of San Diego called Formula 400. These two guys put on this really cool festival show thing down in San Diego called, I think, SoCal Jam or something. And I was just sitting here, just messing around doing stuff for the shows and everything, and I saw that they were streaming it live.
Okay.
I was like, cool. I really want to hear. I mean, I haven't heard either band live before.
Sure.
And so I popped it on there. I'll tell you, it was a cool experience. I never thought I'd actually like a live stream thing, but they sounded amazing as well. I mean, they sounded great. Where it's like, once again, so much better, I think, than which you can get on your record. They sounded so much better live. Formula 400 sounded great. And there's this other band I discovered. I never heard of this band. They've been around forever. They're sludge band, because I guess I'm not. I mean, I like some sludge bands, but they were around the days of like Acid Bath and stuff in the 90s.
Okay.
They're called 16. You ever heard the band 16?
I've heard of them, but I can't say that I've heard them.
They're from LA, San Diego. They're from the Southern California area. I mean, they've been around since like early 90s, and they've been on Relapse for like a good 15 years now almost.
Okay.
But whoa, man, did those guys freaking kill it? I mean, sludgy, heavy. And there was a band right there. Boom. I knew I discovered that I didn't know before, because I saw them too. Even if it was live on the screen, it was good enough where I can make out if a band was good or not live. You can kind of make it out enough. I'm not saying obviously it's the same as a live experience, but it's something, right? People aren't going out, but they're going to sit there. They can put that on their big screen TV. They can get some beers. They can do whatever they want to do with friends. And put that on there. And I don't even know if people are going to shows with friends or watching shows with friends anymore. It seems like, when I go to these shows I went to do in Vegas, it seems like everybody was on their own. You know what I mean? You got these dinosaurs just going out, like myself, going out by yourself to see this stuff because no one else wants to do with you.
It's hard to get people.
It is, man.
I'm doing the tough thing, the tough broadcast. In 2-3 weeks, whatever. And I asked my girl Kelly if she wanted to go because she's into that. And she's just like,
see,
like, all right, then don't. Don't. I'm going. Stay home. I don't care.
Exactly.
I'm not gonna waste a day of my life not enjoying myself.
Exactly. That's the key.
And that should be everybody's key is
Exactly.
enjoy it while you can.
Well, that's
who knows how long it's gonna be.
Who knows how long, dude? You know what I mean? Like I said, we really don't know though. Everything's changing so fast and so exponentially. It's just stuff that we just don't understand. With this youth, I think our disconnect between our generation and the one below it's so vast compared to us and our parents' generation and grandparents. I mean, this is just you think? Don't you think so? No,
I don't. Know. I
guess
think
it's not,
exactly. I think
right,
it's exactly the same. I think,
well, with
you
the
know,
technology, I know you're right though. I mean, if you think we had all this technology too growing up that they didn't have,
yeah.
so
I
that's
mean,
true.
think
Yeah,
about the change from no TV, from sitting
yeah,
around listening to the
radio,
radio
the
to
TV,
all of a sudden have a TV and then color TV and
and
then,
cable, and
drive-in
yeah,
movies and then cable. And, they didn't have any of that
true.
shit either. And, I can point to like my dad musically, just going from my dad that was like Slim Whitman, Roger Whittaker guy
Mm,
to now. Now my kids, their dad is, their dad knows every bit of music.
yeah,
So,
true.
I mean, I think, but
Yeah,
now
you're right. Yeah,
I think it's always been, I think when when you're becoming part of the generation that's starting to fail, it's frustrating. I think that's why you and I are frustrated
we're frustrated.
because
Absolutely.
we're still youthful at heart,
Yep. Hmm.
and it's very frustrating, not for us, like for me, I laugh at people that only rely on, "Oh, man, you're not gonna believe this, there's a new Striper record," it's like,
Mm,
you're a fucking fool. Nothing against Striper, but you're a fucking fool if that's what you're getting excited about. There's
yeah.
10 times that many great new bands
Mm,
that you could find. But I think where we get frustrated is seeing everybody in our age group stalling,
stalling and
because
stopping.
it
Exactly.
leaves us with no one to do stuff
To do
with.
it with, exactly. That don't want to go to shows with. I
Yeah.
mean, it's yeah,
Yeah.
like my good buddy in New York. There's Prong played there recently.
Mhm.
Tommy Victor moved back to New York, and so it was like this big homecoming show at just a little decent venue in Long Island. And I'm like, dude, you got to go to that. You're playing with that band, Damn Your Eyes, too, that I'm a big fan
Right.
of.
Yeah,
And
sure.
he's like, man, he's like, I want it. He's like, don't want to go it though, man. He's like, I don't know if I want to just go all the way down there just by myself. And it's like, and you almost have to.
Mhm.
I've done it, man. I'll continue to do it. I mean, yeah, it sucks. I always try to but there's certain bands or certain things I'm just like, nah, fuck it, I'm gonna go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I hate going by myself. I don't think anyone enjoys it, but to me, it's still worth promoting. I can have a good time by myself, and
Yeah.
hopefully just maybe chat it up with one or two people there if you get if you
Yeah.
get a
You just
chance to.
meet somebody.
Exactly, just shoot the
Hey,
shit
man, you
about the
like this
band. Yeah,
band? Cool, man.
yeah,
Then you start talking to them. Hey, let me get you a
yeah.
beer. Next thing you know, you're buds.
Yeah, but I will say this: like, I went to a show. I went to see Raven. I remember with our buddy Bob Nalbandian a couple of
Sure.
years ago. Now that was a phenomenal show, just because the crowd was great. It was
Mhm.
mostly people in their 50s. Obviously with just the old school metal, but it was such a great vibe in there. But then again, if I go to like like a little bit younger, like my my age groups
Mhm.
shows, you can see the difference. They don't have that same. I don't know. I don't know what I think. Maybe just because I think a lot of the because in the '90s the music was a little more angst driven. Where
Sure.
I think in the '80s, yeah, it was testosterone driven, but it was a little bit more celebratory.
Yeah.
And so I think when you're talking about metal on metal and stuff like that, that has more of a just rah 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 metal stuff. Where in the '90s it was like self deprecating, sort of
Mhm.
angry, pissed off stuff. Where a lot of I think, like we were talking about, a lot of people listen to that, maybe aren't angry as they get older. And they just
Well, sure.
don't relate to it anymore. So therefore they don't listen to it anymore.
Mhm.
So I think that's another thing too that you get a lot of is just, I mean, whatever, we can go on this for
Yeah.
forever. We're going on short of 2 hours here. So all right,
It's all
but
good.
let's go ahead and get ready to wrap it up. Anything you want to throw out there before we wrap this up here?
Nah, dude, just support music. Just that simple. Just support it. Try to find. Look, I'll put a simple thing out there for anybody that's daring enough to do it. We're coming up on 2023. Once a quarter, every 3 months, discover one band that you like and you have not heard of prior to discovering them. Look on Blabbermouth or wherever you look. Seismic Sounds,
Yeah, go to Aftershocks
CMSPN,
and
wherever.
Chris Dickens Presents. Yeah.
Yeah, any one of them. Find a band that you have not heard of and listen. Go to Spotify or whatever and listen to it. Just listen to it
Mhm.
and find one and find 2, 3, 4. And if you can find 2, 3, or 4, you're going to find 30 more behind it.
Yeah.
And that's really the key. Stop being old. Stop being old fashioned. Stop
Exactly.
waiting for the next White Snake record.
Well, stop waiting for stuff. Go ahead
Yeah.
and get it yourself. It's not hard. It takes 2 seconds. There's podcasts you can upload. You can listen to the shit in your car instead of popping on the radio or
Mm-hmm.
popping on Ozzy's Boneyard and listening to the same shit over and over on Sirius XM.
Yeah.
Pop on a Seismic Sounds, or even just go and do a generic, whether it's a Spotify mix or a YouTube mix or I mean, just something where you're gonna get some. I mean, not really Spotify because they'll just throw out Ozzy Osbourne every freaking 2 seconds. But you know what I mean. That's the thing too. There's these playlists. You know what I mean. It's something
Mhm.
I want to start doing for Aftershocks is have or Seismic Sounds is to have an actual playlist
Sure.
on Spotify where we can throw these out. And that's one thing maybe we'll start doing. We'll start. Hopefully, we can get some of our listeners and viewers there to check those bands out. But yeah, I
Yeah.
agree with you, man, 100%. There's so much good music. We're not going to stop talking about this because it's out there. Don't complain that we'll keep waiting around for the next Guns N' Roses record because it might never happen.
Yeah.
Stop with that stuff because
Look.
those guys aren't going to be the same anyway. It's been years since they played together. Get with a
Right.
band that's been playing tight with each other, been touring. They got a great, I mean, there's so many of them. So, like you said, not just to go out and watch them, but buy their shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Buy a T-shirt, buy a whatever. Just buy something.
I say it every single interview I do now, every one of them.
Mm.
I'm like, go out and buy something. Don't just stream it.
Yeah.
Buy it, and it's twofold. It's one, it helps the bands a whole lot more than fucking streaming it
Fans
for
in the
a
industry in
millionth
general.
of a cent.
Mhm.
But the other thing that it does is it gives these guys the incentive to keep going.
Exactly.
If they see people are actually still engaged in what they do, they'll keep
They'll keep going. Absolutely. But if they don't, if no one's going to their shows, no one's buying their music,
yeah.
you get to the point, like I was saying about that promoter. It's like he put out a post about it, man. Like, I don't know how long I'm going to be able to do these shows because people have good intentions. They say they're going to come, they don't.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't do this, I don't want to lose money. And he doesn't want to also stiff the bands. It means they get less money too at the door, and he doesn't want to stiff them. And they need gas, and the gas money is insane.
Mhm.
We see all this news about logistics, big bands, major bands that can't tour because of the logistics and the costs. It makes no sense.
Mhm.
So it's really this grass movement thing again.
Yeah.
And like you said, go out and just have fun. I mean,
Yeah.
when have you been? I don't know if I've ever been to a show where I had a horrible time. Like
I have, but they're so few and far
they're
between.
few.
I mean, it's for like every 1,000 shows you go to, you have one that's just a real,
like the LA Burning Festival.
Yeah, I mean, that would be a horrible time. But I mean, I think we all have one or two where somebody hit our car in the parking lot, and then the sound system was shit in the show. Where you have one or two of those in your entire concert career, but. Yeah, man, just go out, live for fuck's sake. I guess maybe that's the bigger message.
Live life.
Ever since COVID, everybody wants to fucking stay home and watch Netflix. Enough.
Exactly. Quit watching the fucking, Tiger King, all these fucking whatever it is.
Enough. Stop living through their dumb lives. Live through your own dumb life.
Exactly. That shit's all propaganda anyway. It's all shit to try to get you to think a certain way. So go to music will get you to fucking get away from that. I mean, live music, nothing like it, man. I mean, everyone knows this. They've done it. Stop being cheap. Go pay for the show, or go. If you're not going to go to a show, then buy a damn record, buy a shirt, just support it, or it is going to go away. Because eventually there's going to be no Guns N' Roses and Metallica. These guys are all getting old. I mean, watching John Fogerty at 77, that ain't going to wake you up. You know what I mean? I mean, like I said, he did a great job for a 77-year-old guy, but he's still 70 freaking.
Yeah, but it's still you
grandpa.
You have to throw that caveat in. He did a great job
for that age, exactly. You know,
that's like saying I ate well for a fat guy.
Yeah, exactly. I know
that doesn't work.
He did well for it doesn't. You're right. It absolutely doesn't work. And put down the turntables and stop. Young kids pick up their fucking instruments.
That's what you're into. That's okay too. If you're into listening to that or you're into making it. Look, I don't really even give a shit what kind of genre it is. Just support music. Support the music in general. Because if it gets
preferably rock and metal.
Well, I prefer it, but it's like real quick, Amazon, I don't know if you're aware of this, but after the Thursday night football games now, Amazon has a live
show, yeah.
Amazon Music Live.
Yes.
And so far it's just been shitty rap bands. It's been Megan Thee Stallion and Little Baby and I mean just shitty music.
Megan Thee Stallion is not even she's just a personality, dude.
She's not good.
She got a big ass, and that's the only reason why she got
big ass,
freaking
fat tits, and that's it. But but I'm still encouraged because at least one of the major companies in the world and one of the major media companies in the world are putting legitimate money into music. And eventually they're going to see that they're going to have to look, Amazon's not stupid. And if you watch the movies that are on Amazon Prime, a lot of them are geared for 40, 50, 60-year-old guys, all the Tom Clancy shit and stuff that they put out there. The only way you're going to get those people, Thursday Night Football is geared for old guys. So eventually,
so why the hell do they have Megan Thee Stallion on? Why aren't they putting on?
Because their first run, the very first taste is what's hip today, and that's what all Hollywood douchebags do. Is they go with what's hip for the minute. But as that audience is going to tail away fast because there's no loyalty in that audience, but there's loyalty in that football game. And therefore, they'll start leaning toward the artist that makes sense for the product.
Well, you would think that, but look what they've been doing to the Super Bowls. Same shit. You know what I mean? I mean, I know Super Bowl's a bit of a more of a it's
more of a party, though.
It's not really. I know what you mean, but yeah. See, to me though, what you just said about Thursday Night Football and the fact that they're not putting on anything that guys are really into like that.
Well, they did put a country guy in the middle.
Well, there you go. That's how they're doing it. They're substituting it. No rock and metal.
Not
country. I'll put my money on there ain't going to be any, dude. Not just yet, but
I think there will be. I think there will be at some point. It'll be one of the retreads. It'll be
rock is
Metallica. It'll probably be Metallica because Metallica can't get the Super Bowl nod.
It's not big enough for Thursday Night Football game. It's not big enough for Metallica. They won't do that. No way.
I bet you they would. Dude, they did fucking last year. They did just Amazon broadcasts.
Yeah, I don't think they'll do just a regular season football game. I just don't see that. It's got to be a big thing.
Oh, maybe playoffs.
I wouldn't mind seeing Rival Sons or something doing it.
Yeah, that'd be great. I would love that.
But they don't want rock and metal, man. Remember, we're supposed to grow out of this shit. Hollywood.
Hey, man, you're the one that said no more doom and gloom. I'm trying to be positive here. God damn it.
There is doom and gloom. There's no escaping it, man. It's about working around the doom and gloom. It's about keeping it just, whatever. It is what it is. Just do what you want to do. Just don't be cheap. Just buy something and go see something. That's
support bands.
Support, because if you don't like it, if you don't care about it, we do, and we want these bands to last, man.
That's right.
Do. We love the new music. We love the new bands. We're going to keep putting them out there, and that's what we do. Because shit, you want to hear an interview on Kiss and shit. Go ahead and just put on your podcast. Type in Kiss. You got about 1 million of them. So
exactly.
Go ahead. And with that said, I think we're going to wrap this up. So, happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Yes.
Thanks for tuning in again, and we'll see you next time here on Tremors.